Here is a country of great contrast. Great civilization of antiquity. A foreign country of temple.
All right, we're back. It's the Casa de Cavazos. Justin here in Chicago, Ada in Harlingen, Nathan in West Laco, Texas, providing that Tejano connection to reality. We are no longer in the same geographical region. We've gone our separate ways. What's going on? I feel like there's a story that you wanted to talk about from the Austin trip.
I was just wondering if you were reminiscing about the lamp saga.
The initial part of the story is I was going to bed before the race day, and I noticed that the lamp next to the side of the bed I was on was just like hanging down, completely down on the nightstand. I was like, this doesn't seem like it was broken yesterday. So I went to ask my daughters, and they were like, it was already broken. Which, I mean, to me was like, oh no, something bad must have happened. So I tried to fix it, didn't work, let Ada know, and then she can take it from there.
But we also did some gaslighting of one of the children. We basically told one of the children that they absolutely did it. Like, they need to just admit that they did it, that they broke the lamp. And ultimately, that child was redeemed. The next day, Justin and I went up there because I wanted to evaluate the lamp and see what I was going to say about the lamp to the Airbnb host. Then Justin figured out that it was missing a washer. Then I created a makeshift washer out of some type of HEB lids that were there.
That was horrible. You sent me the picture. Like, look at what I did. It's like this massive chunk of plastic that's just hanging outside of this really nice lamp.
I cut it down a little bit. But putting the washer on there worked, and so the lamp was fixed. So then the next day we told the owner or the host, just FYI, like, the lamp had an issue or was missing a washer. We made a washer and it's holding up for now. And he's like, oh my God, you guys are amazing. Like, I couldn't figure that out.
It's been broken for months.
Yeah. So the child who was blamed and gaslighted by multiple people, even me, was redeemed.
She was like, see, I told you.
Yes.
Just to be clear, I saw it was missing the washer the whole time.
You still blamed her, though.
Well, she didn't have a very good reaction. She was like, oh, well, I was doing this. And I was like, oh, man, just tell me what happened.
I feel like in retrospect, it was a gaslit reaction. Like, you keep on being told that you did it. Like, you need to accept that version of reality. And at some point, you're like, well, maybe I touched it and it fell down.
This is the case for pleading the fifth. So you don't self-incriminate accidentally.
Yeah.
I was just trying to figure out who did it just in case so we could pay for it. Nothing about gaslighting.
They admitted it like super fast. Like way too fast.
But then they didn't do it.
And there was no reason for admission.
Well, that's what they need to learn. They need to learn to not self-incriminate.
Were you also reminiscing about how Nathan was distressed by my revelation that I have ADHD?
He's still distressed. We're all still distressed.
Why are you all distressed?
I feel like you held that for 20 years for no reason.
Oh, I've not held it from other people. Like, it's a known fact that ADHD type people tend to go into emergency medicine. Like, we talk about it amongst ourselves. And I think I've talked to other people about it too, because it impacted like my studying techniques and the way that I ultimately figured out how to study. And it just impacts like how I act all the time.
Yeah, well, none of us knew about it. And now it's like, oh, a lot of stuff makes sense. It's like, oh, I thought she didn't care. She just wasn't paying attention because she didn't give a shit, but it was just because her head went elsewhere.
That makes it even worse. You fucking told other people and we're just like, oh yeah, it's no big deal. I've known for 20 years. Dad didn't even know.
I didn't even know how it was relevant though.
Well, we just thought you were an a-hole this whole time.
So the reason that I suspected I had ADHD was because I learned that some of the med students who were doing really well would sit in the library all day. Like, they would literally get there like 9 a.m. and stay there all day just like memorizing, like till 10 p.m.
That sounds horrible.
So I thought, okay, well, if I do that, then maybe I'll do better. I was actually already doing pretty well, but I wasn't quite like in the top 10% on my tests. So I was just outside or so. Maybe it was top 15%, but I was just outside like the honors level of grades. So I thought, well, maybe I'll do that. And if I put in that work, if I just sit at the library and just like memorize like for hours and hours, like I'll do better. It didn't work. I actually did worse. I did worse because I was just like so distracted, like I couldn't sit there all day. I would like be looking at the clock constantly, like, okay, I've only been here 4 hours. Like I just couldn't do it. And so that's why I brought it up to my psychiatry attending that I thought maybe I had ADHD. And then he gave me some kind of test that involved a computer test. Like it had to do with like my reaction times and like getting distracted, I think. It wasn't like a questionnaire or something like that. Almost like a video game. And so he told me I had ADHD and wanted to prescribe me medication. But like I said, I denied that. So that's basically the story. And I don't really think it's a big deal. Like, I'm not sure why I'm supposed to be telling everyone.
Tell your family.
But I didn't think it was relevant.
All the phases make sense now. Like I'm super into grilling, golf, tennis, working out.
It's like, what the hell? You dropped that thing? I thought we were going to like go golfing or do some other stuff together. And you're like, nah, I'm done with that.
Still working on it. I mean, maybe it would help if I was medicated, but I don't really want to take medication. But like it works for me. Like today I had a class where I was able to be off camera for 90 minutes. And I'm like, let me go ahead and like multitask. Like, let me start cooking at the same time. And I actually paid attention better to the class while I was doing that. Because I wasn't just sitting there like bored.
You could have been wearing your Vision Pro though.
With the avatar? I don't think so.
So why'd you stop using that?
I'll be using it soon to watch movies.
Did you experience any of this like when you were growing up in grade school?
The ADHD?
Yeah.
I think school was too easy for me in K through 12.
Because you were an elite reader.
It was so easy for me, like I couldn't really determine that there was something wrong. It was only when things got harder that I realized there was a problem. I think what happened was that in medical school, the volume of knowledge that you have to gain is so massive that there's really no way to like get around any kind of ADHD or learning disability. So you have to figure out that something's wrong with you and how to deal with it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about our editor's favorite topic, sports.
Well, it's kind of a sports and medicine topic.
Okay.
So it's not that bad, right?
So there's a little something for everyone.
Yes. So the big shocker this week was that Victor Wembanyama, is that how you say it?
What? Yes, Wembanyama. Have you watched TV for the past like year and a half? Say it.
Wembanyama.
Oh.
Is it bad?
I don't know. It sounded wrong for some reason.
I also can't say Hermione correctly.
What?
From Harry Potter.
Hermione?
Hermione?
Yeah, I can't say it.
it's 3 syllables.
Hermione.
There you go.
It still sounds weird. But he is out for the season because he developed a blood clot in his right shoulder area.
For our medically knowledgeable friends, also known as a deep vein thrombosis.
That is correct. So there's really no point in keeping him in. They're not going to make the playoffs. And I think there's only like 2 months of the season left.
So why is he out for 3 months with that kind of condition?
Well, I think the thought process is you don't want to risk death from a head injury just for basketball. I mean, it's not like football, obviously, but at the same time, the players do get hit in the head. So I don't think it's worth the risk to be in a blood thinner and possibly hit your head on a basketball court.
And what's so bad about playing with a blood clot?
I think it's more so the playing with the blood thinner. I mean, also, I guess playing with the blood clot also could be risky because if it breaks off, it could go into the pulmonary arteries. But I think the concern mainly is the blood thinner and the risk that entails.
So he's out for the rest of the season. It brings to mind a lot of Chris Bosh's issues with blood clots that he had. Did he have it throughout his whole career, or was it pretty much just towards the end?
Yeah, I think he was already over 30. And his were in his legs, and they were thought to be related to a lot of travel because all these players do a lot of long flights where they're not really moving. So I read an article that maybe Wemby's is due to more of a anatomy issue, more of a thoracic outlet syndrome. So it may not be an issue long term. We'll have to see.
What's a thoracic outlet syndrome?
So it basically means that at some point, like maybe because of the way his body is set up and maybe also because of the constant like overhand shooting motions, that maybe like the vasculature is pinched off a little bit. And then that leads to clot formation.
So would he need to change his shooting form?
I don't think he'd have to change his shooting form, but I think that they're going to come up with preventive measures that he can do. One of the things you could do is just make sure that he has good range of motion in that arm, not just sit around with the arm just immobilized a lot whenever he's traveling. But I'm not sure you can really prevent it just from like the shooting motions and things like that.
Do you even think it's about the shooting motion? Because I read that it's a more common injury like in volleyball players, tennis players. So maybe it's more about the amount of blocks that he gets, all that swatting that he's going for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's tough because if he's going to be thinking about that, then how is he going to be an effective player? If he's always afraid that certain motions are going to cause an issue.
Not sure, but I just read that. So I was thinking it was more about his defense than his
Yeah.
offense.
But he gets so pumped up when he blocks those shots.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the issue is going to be like, is this going to happen to him again? Because if this continues to happen to him, then I don't know if that's going to cut his career short.
Well, if it's a pinching, is there any way to deal with that if they find out that that's what that is? I think you were telling me about someone who had part of like a rib shaved off.
It wasn't me.
Hmm.
But I think that would make sense, right? If there's some way to anatomically prevent the impingement, some way that's not super invasive.
Hopefully it's nothing too serious. We'll know more in the coming months. And hey, maybe it's a one-time thing, and this time off the court, he's just going to be in the weight room. He's going to bulk up. He's going to get massive. He's going to look like Giannis next year, maybe. Who knows? That would be really cool.
So apparently, this is not my specialty, so I didn't really know about the surgery. But apparently, Brandon Ingram had the same issue.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a decompression surgery done where they removed a part of his rib that compressed the vein.
Ah, that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah. So I guess we'll have to monitor and see if they end up saying that Wemby needs the surgery.
Yeah, because Ingram's been fine since then. He's had other injury issues, but he's not had to deal with the clots.
I mean, it seems like it's not a very invasive surgery. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. And maybe in a few months we'll hear that Wemby's going to have surgery to have the same thing done that Ingram had done.
Yeah, so Wemby's out for the rest of the season. And we also learned that Coach Greg Popovich is out for the rest of the season, too.
Well, I think I predicted that, right? As soon as Wemby went out, then what's the point? I mean, basically the season's pretty much done for them. Like, they're not really going to win that many more games without Wemby in there. So what's the point if he's still recovering from a stroke and still going through rehab?
He's been coaching for the Spurs since 1996. And he's been part of the organization since even before that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think it's worth it for him to continue to coach. I think he needs to worry about his health, spend time with his family. Like, maybe he should just be like a consultant to the Spurs at this point.
Yeah, I wonder if, in a way, he was diving more into basketball after his wife passed away.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does make sense, like, when you're grieving and even, like, the long term, that you want to have some kind of purpose and something to do. But at this point, like, I'm not sure it's really good for his health to continue to do full-time basketball coaching.
I'm sure it raises his blood pressure and isn't great for his health. He yells out there. He challenges the players and the refs.
I also think it's hard for a coach to stay healthy when they're constantly traveling.
Mhm.
Like the foods that they eat on the road,
Yeah,
hard to exercise.
drinking excellent wine every night.
Yeah. Also hard to follow up with your doctors regularly. You have to work around that travel schedule as well. But we'll have to see what happens with Wemby. Maybe he'll have that surgery. Hopefully this is not something that's going to cut his career short or cause him to miss a lot of time long term or even like kill him. Technically, that's the concern with DVTs, that you basically can dislodge a clot that goes into the pulmonary arteries, and technically that can kill you.
Wishing good recoveries to Wemby and Coach Pop. kind of the past and the future of the San Antonio Spurs. As always, Ada loves to talk about something depressing every episode, so we're going to have to check in with the Trump administration. What did you want to talk about?
As I said to someone recently, I love to marinate in the pessimism, and then I like to work on the solutions.
You're a hater. That's why. You're fueled by hate.
I don't think that's fueled by hate. I think that part of it is when you train to be an ER doc, you train to think of the worst possible things that can happen. And then you try to figure out how to solve that and how to prevent the worst things from happening. I mean, I think a lot of these things that are happening now, like I knew they were going to happen. But at the same time, some of it's worse than I thought, which is always a bad thing for any person, especially an ER doctor, for things to be worse than you thought they would be. Trump saying 1 month in that Ukraine started the war is pretty terrible. I mean, it's so terrible that Republicans actually came out and started saying that that was wrong. Like they're actually like coming out of the echo chamber a bit.
Did he elaborate on what he meant by saying that Ukraine started the war, or did he just say it?
I don't remember the exact words, but he essentially said that they instigated it. And so multiple people spoke out, multiple senators, even Piers Morgan, who like really annoys me and super right wing. They were like, no, this is completely wrong. Like Ukraine did not start the war. But it's also interesting to see who has fallen in line with Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those people is Elon. So Elon has fallen in line too, that Ukraine started the war and that they're like a massive grifting machine or something, or a fraud machine. I couldn't really understand him that well.
I don't know what he wants out of this. Is he just hoping that enough of the world gets destabilized that there's one government that can try to get to Mars?
They already lost today in Germany. That push for AFD did not work out.
It didn't work out, but AFD did a lot better than they should have. And so that's what we need to be concerned about long term. We have to keep pushing back, and we need to continue to create our own media, because some people are getting influenced by these right-wing people and X and whatever right-wing media there is out there.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways the United States were a proving ground for this playbook, for trying to spread these populist messages and disturb governments and possibly world peace. And I think they're learning new methods to get that messaging over in Europe.
I do want to say that we need to be careful about giving Elon and Trump too much credit. These are not very smart people. They're not playing 4D chess. So I'm not sure that they have a very coherent goal. I don't really even know what Trump's goal is as a president. Elon's goal seems to be to rule the world, and I'm not sure how it all plays into it.
You know, you were mentioning like Elon falling in line with what Trump was saying. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the other way around.
That Elon convinced Trump that Ukraine started the war?
Maybe they had a private conversation and then Trump decided that he wanted to say that.
Well, Trump already backtracked. He said on Friday that Russia started the war.
What?
Yeah.
So then what's the thought process now in terms of what he's doing with Ukraine and Russia?
It's still about the minerals. He's trying to strike a deal with Ukraine.
Right. The other part was that Trump claimed that Zelensky is a dictator because he has not held elections and they're currently under martial law, while at the same time ignoring the fact that Putin has elections, but they're fake. So he's not really holding free and fair elections.
Yeah, and they're under martial law, not for some bogus reason. Like, they're literally in a war.
Yeah, so that's the reason they can't hold elections, and they're under martial law. And today, Zelensky said, I'm okay with stepping down if that's what we need to do. If peace will come to Ukraine with me stepping down, I'll do it. So I don't think that's a dictator. A dictator would never say that.
Well, yeah, and then they're in the middle of a devastating war. I mean, I don't think anybody's focused on elections.
Well, I mean, what would the integrity be of the election when a lot of people are not able to vote because they're like getting shot on or bombed?
There'd be no integrity. I don't even think anybody would care. I mean, I would be really interested to see what type of numbers they'd get.
Didn't Trump say some bogus number about Zelensky's approval rating?
Yes, he said it was like 4%, which was incorrect. It's apparently over 50%.
Maybe he's jealous of the approval ratings. Do you think there's any part of Zelensky who when saying he wants to step down, might have some fear for his life?
I mean, it could be that, but I also think that he cares about his country. And if they're claiming that he's a dictator and he's ruining everything, he's willing to take that hit and leave in order to have peace because he cares about the people. Unlike some people that we know in this country that only care about themselves, aka Trump.
Well, this German election was very interesting in the surge of this populist far-right party. For folks who don't know, the way that the German political system has operated is that there's all these parties, but pretty much all of them but one have made what they call the firewall to keep any massive legislation being made by that furthest right party. Was it like Alternative für Deutschland, like the Alternative for Germany party, the AfD? But they're surging. They came in second place this time. What's really interesting is when you look at a political spectrum chart, the party that won most of the votes is as far right as you can get without it being AfD. But I wonder how much of a political ideological gap there is between those two.
Yeah, it was still a conservative party that won, but they're not going to choose AfD to work with them.
Yeah, conservatism looks different. Not in the U.S.
Well, and the conservatives in general have been winning lately just because of the inflation that's been going on throughout the world.
Well, it's pretty much any non-incumbent party.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it's been years now, this war in Ukraine. I hope folks in Europe are knowledgeable enough and can see what happens if Ukraine is folded over to Russia. I think they are aware of the threat that Russia and Putin present to them as a continent. Because a lot of people say Poland will be next if Putin gets what he wants.
He's not going to stop at Ukraine. I mean, this is the thing that they failed to mention when they're saying they're going to stop the war. No, like stopping the war for the Trump administration, I think, is Russia winning. And once they win, they're probably going to kill Zelensky and they're just going to keep moving forward.
Yeah, I have a friend from college who is from Poland, and he still has family out there, and it's been a scary time with him ever since that war started. His family already has plans. They have like a go kit for if shit really hits the fan. They know that the threat is real.
What do you think about the mineral deal?
I don't know. It seems predatory.
It's like everything else he's doing. He just wants to put his name on something, whether it's the Gulf of America, Greenland, Gaza, taking all the minerals from Ukraine. I mean, it's all a cash grab.
All of them?
No, I think a lot of them. My understanding, though, is that Zelensky kind of presented this deal initially, but he wanted it in exchange for guaranteed security. And so the holdup right now is that the Trump administration was not wanting to give them a guaranteed security. They kind of just wanted to be paid back.
It sounds like a mafia boss.
And so Zelensky wants to continue security, and he also doesn't want to saddle future generations or future administrations with debt. I also read that the mineral deal isn't necessarily that great for us. Like, things are demolished there, so it's going to take a long time to even be able to get in there and create the infrastructure to get the minerals and the oil. We don't even really know how much there is there. So it would take like probably 15 years to get much out of there.
Yeah, but they want a substantial piece of it. They want 50%.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. We're waiting to see if there's going to be a deal or not. Any day now, allegedly. And like I said, it hinges on Zelensky wanting a guarantee of security. Because it's kind of pointless to give up this deal if then you're going to turn around and let Russia kill you.
No, the whole situation is supremely messed up. I think we're on the verge of another major conflict.
Apparently, part of the negotiation is they're threatening Ukraine to take away their Starlink access. So make a deal or we're going to take away Starlink access is one of the things that they're saying.
And this is separate from government activity, right?
Yes.
I think the government's telling them this, though.
Well, the government doesn't have any control of the Starlink.
Yeah, this whole private citizen who is pulling a lot of strings, who is not confirmed by Congress, is doing a lot of weird stuff. we've never seen a scenario where someone who is not an elected official, was not confirmed by the government, is just side by side at the right hand of the most powerful person in the world. And sometimes taking up more airspace and speaking time than the president himself.
The other unprecedented thing is that the guy is a freaking moron. And he has all this power as a complete moron and possibly on drugs most of the time.
Is that unprecedented? I feel like a lot of kings and monarchical rule in Europe were not necessarily the sharpest tools in the shed.
Unprecedented in the United States of America. To have this unelected moron with extreme power next to the president.
Pay to play. He's got enough to play anywhere, though.
Speaking of moron, that reminds me of that whole email debacle that's going on right now. He's literally emailed everyone who is a federal employee, asking them to tell him what they did in the last week to prove that they deserve to have a job, essentially.
Apparently the email doesn't even say what you did last week at work. It's just like, what did you do last week?
What?
Yeah, and it doesn't even have a date for response. It's just like, respond by Monday. It's like, what Monday?
So he's sending it to Border Patrol agents and claiming that anyone who doesn't respond is essentially resigning by not responding.
What do you think about Kash Patel being like, don't respond to this immediately?
Well, apparently Kash Patel doesn't really like Elon, per Unearthed podcasts.
Not only that, they said when all those parties happened that he was the only one that refused to be in the photos with Elon. Kash kind of stayed away from him.
Strangely, there's been a lot of tension between certain people and Elon, but Elon's still at the highest level and still has the most power. Steve Bannon doesn't like Elon. Kash Patel, apparently, and probably other people as well.
I wonder if some of these sensitive information parts of the government, like the FBI, like the NSA, like the State Department, are likely to say not to respond to those emails because chances are what they did was classified.
I have a problem with this oligarch, Elon Musk. He talks a lot of crap about normal people. Like, oh, they're not doing their jobs. They're just like doing nothing. If they don't check their email, they don't even work. Come on, dude. You basically just play video games and tweet all day. And you want to stand on your pedestal and act like everyone else isn't doing anything. It's just disgusting.
I mean, I haven't been reading his posts anymore. I did notice, however, though, that for somebody that's saying everybody's trying to censor them, just doing a pretty straightforward search on his platform, like I just searched German exit polls, and it was nothing but biased AFD posts that littered the entire search.
Well, X is a toxic right-wing wasteland.
I think social media in general is a toxic wasteland. I've decided that I'm going to delete my Facebook in a few days.
I like Blue Sky.
Didn't Nate Silver say Blue Sky is trash?
What I'm going to say is Nate Silver is also a moron.
Isn't he like a great statistical mind or something?
He's a statistician. He's
Not
pretty good at that.
necessarily. But now he's saying, well, no, Elon's definitely very smart. It's like, no, he's not. And I think if you're a smart person, you can recognize that at this point. Today, Elon said something about the emails, basically say that, oh, I was doing these emails to make sure that people actually work, because if you don't check your email, you probably don't work. And also because there's a lot of like dead people that are attached to these emails that are getting paid by the federal government.
What's the obsession with dead people on this administration so far?
I don't know. Dead people and fake people.
Did you also see how like the press secretary was like, deceased people who are not alive?
They're clarifying. Maybe some people don't know what deceased means.
Who wouldn't know that?
I don't know. Elon Musk.
I don't know. I do want to find these deceased people who are alive.
I don't know. There's just like this whole like disgusting thing going on with these people, Trump and Elon, where they basically are crapping on the little guy, on the regular person. Oh, they don't do any work. Oh, they can't work from home because they don't really do anything. All they would do would be to golf or to play tennis and all this. I don't think these people have ever had like a normal job, because that is not true. I've done remote work for the last several years, and I certainly had to work hard during the hours that I was working. The only really nice thing I find with work from home is that you cut out your commute. And a lot of times too, you can cut out like all the getting ready, like the whole, shower, get dressed. So you can save like a few hours just because you don't have to do all that and you don't have to commute. So that's really nice to not have like all these unpaid hours, like getting ready for work and commuting.
Yeah, and I don't work a 9 to 5. I work a freelance where I can pretty much do a lot of my stuff from home or even on the road. So, but sometimes what that means is that the work follows you.
Yeah.
You're always connected to your work. Y'all were getting pissed off at me for working when I was in Texas.
We're like, get off already.
You said the meeting was going to be over.
Oh, yeah. So that's another thing, too. Like, it's not necessarily all chill when you work from home. Like, people have done that to me, too. Like, they'll be talking to me while I'm trying to do work. I need to do my work. I'm not very efficient if you keep talking to me.
Yeah, I've only done one job that was work from home, and yeah, I couldn't really talk to anybody. I had to be locked in my room for hours, and then if I wasn't online pretty much the whole time, I would get written up. So yeah, it's not easy to work from home. The convenience is great, but you pretty much got to be working the whole time.
What job was that?
The tutor job.
Oh, yeah. I remember tutoring people and being really angry about it.
Why are you so angry?
I just felt like people had unrealistic expectations sometimes. Like, I don't know if they'd like try to lie that certain work was 7th grade work, but it was like college work. Like, oh, explain like pulmonary physiology to me. I'm like, what? This is not 7th grade work.
Med school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then sometimes you get like negative reviews, and it's like,
yeah,
I'm just not going to give you the answer. Like, I'm trying to help you get to the answer, but some of the people will log onto the surface and like, you're not helping. Like, I just need the answer. And I'm like, yeah, like my supervisor is not going to allow this.
But this is like some type of fantasy world where you think that like normal people who work from home are just like out golfing all day. Strangely, that's actually what Trump does. He golfs a lot when he's supposed to be working. So that, I don't know. It's weird to be blaming people and claiming that they're just golfing and doing nothing when they work from home.
Yeah, there's time tracking software. There's trackers on company provided devices that say what you're doing on them, and they know if you're working or not. You can get fired.
That actually does remind me that I was doing this insurance job for a few years part-time, and they actually did even have like keystroke tracking and mouse tracking, and they would like figure out that certain people were like trying to shop while they were supposed to be working. And so they would figure that out and they would reprimand them. And I think if they kept doing it, they would terminate them.
I think hybrid work for white collar jobs is the way to go. I think there's a benefit to being able to work from home, but I think there is a societal and social element of having to be around people more regularly that I think we could get back to a little bit more. So we're forced to interact with people who are not like us.
But that's not what they're doing. They're just being actively hostile to regular people.
Yeah.
Like saying that they're not doing anything. That's why they have to come back in person. And then also just firing all these people like for no real reason.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's what I was talking about right now. It's like, it's not as easy as they think. Because like I've had friends that like have worked like for call centers and stuff. And when they started doing like all the remote stuff, you had to be good. Otherwise, they'd be like, you know what? You're not meeting expectations. Either you're fired or you need to come into the actual office. Your performance had to be good for you to remain at home. Otherwise, you had to go to the actual site and work. That way they could make sure you were doing the work.
Do y'all know any federal government workers who've received these communications?
Yeah, I know one.
And so they sent it to a Border Patrol agent. Does that make any sense that they would want to fire Border Patrol agents when we're trying to increase our border security?
Yeah, it made no sense. I was like, I'm pretty sure you're safe. I go, I know it's Elon. I mean, he's crazy, but it'd be kind of hard for them to get their goal of getting all these illegals out and have no Border Patrol available.
Honestly, if it was me, I would just respond because if I needed the money and I didn't want to get fired randomly, I would just do it. Just write back to the email.
The Border Patrol has a union, though. So what I've read is the unions are going to have some legal battles, legal challenges there. So I think the agencies that have unions are not going to instruct their employees to respond.
Yeah, just stupid and pointless. And at the end of the day, apparently they barely saved any money. And then the Republicans are trying to pass a new $350 billion bill for border and defense spending. So that cancels out any savings. So it's just stupid.
They were going to have to spend money at some point. I don't know how they didn't figure that part out.
Interestingly, today, John Curtis, Republican, was on Face the Nation, like kind of begging Elon to be more compassionate towards all these people he was firing.
That's not his MO.
Compassion?
Elon Musk is not famous for being a compassionate guy. He doesn't give a shit about his own children.
I guess that reminds me of that SpaceX video y'all shared, or Nathan shared.
Justin shared originally.
Correct.
Okay.
You finally watched it?
I watched it, and I thought it was interesting because people who really had no reason to, like, lie are like, yeah, he doesn't care about safety, you know?
Wasn't the rate of injury and workplace safety issues something like 6 times higher than other companies that are in the same field?
Yes, and it's only going to get worse because his whole plot is deregulation. So safety and also like damage to the climate and the surrounding area at Boca Chica, it's all going to get worse.
Yeah, people used to go to that beach.
Yeah, when he got that contract, they were supposedly guaranteed they were still going to be able to get access, but it's pretty much just whenever they want to launch, you're not going to have any access.
Yeah, but what about all the high-paying jobs that Elon is bringing to Brownsville?
I mean, they're high paying for the area, but the truth is they're really low paying for the type of work it is. I mean, that's why he brought it here.
Well, and also like he expects his employees to work really, really hard and a lot harder than he works. And like probably work 80-hour weeks. So it's not the best job.
Yeah, that reminds me, when you said about deregulation, which is what he's all about, did you see that Donald Trump is crying that his Air Force One hasn't been upgraded yet?
Oh, yeah.
And Elon, of course, said, oh, no, like Boeing's saying that it's going to take till the end of this second term to be ready. And Elon, of course, steps in. No, they can have at least one ready, which I imagine is him going and tell Boeing, just work nonstop, strip your regulations.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust Elon on that. I would like my plane to not crash.
He reminds me of like whenever you watch any of these like fantasy movies where it's like about a power play and there's like the advisor who's like, yes, of course. Yes. Have you considered that maybe we can not go over the regulations for the aircraft? Yes, you will be completely safe, Mr. President.
It also reminds me of that little submarine what was that submarine called that was like a private submarine that ended up imploding?
The one that was going down to the Titanic?
Yeah.
It's the Titan submersible.
Yes.
From the company OceanGate.
So people have said there's kind of a parallel there between Elon and the Titan submersible guy because they tend to think that they can kind of cut corners and do things in a different way. And sometimes that's not the best way. Like sometimes you can't do things in a different way. And sometimes you've got to follow all the rules. Otherwise you may implode or explode.
Yeah, sometimes you need a regular freaking steering wheel. Or like the Cybertruck. You know, like the issue with the Cybertruck with the rear view mirror? So in that the truck bed is closed, you can't see out the back. So you have to have a camera feed for the rear view mirror. But there was already a massive recall for that vehicle because that camera feed cut out. It wasn't functional. So you essentially had no rear view mirror.
I don't know about that. I haven't looked into the Cybertruck, but that sounds stupid.
It's easy for these people to want deregulation and stripping all this safety when they're the ones not doing the work. I mean, oh yeah, somebody died, but production's going to continue. They're not in any danger.
Also, when they don't put their lives on the line. At least the Titan submersible guy did put his life on the line. He was in the submersible that imploded.
Yeah, he believed in what he was doing. I mean, there's that at least. He wasn't just sending people down there.
Very interesting times with these planes falling out of the sky. Boeing's been in hot water over the past couple of years over quality control issues, and there have been issues with some of their planes all over the world. So why should they be regulated less? Why should they fast track a plane for the president?
They definitely should not.
What are you looking at, Ada?
I'm reading about the Titan submersible.
Are you shopping?
No, I don't really do much shopping, sir. Although I did today decide I needed to order some glass, like Tupperware, because of microplastics.
Oh, now you're worried about microplastics?
I was reading about it today.
You sound like RFK.
I don't think RFK is focused as much on microplastics as he is on vaccines and medications. We don't have a lot of research yet, but there are some suggestions that quite a bit of microplastics are going into our whole bodies and going into our brains. And like there was one study that the people who had dementia tended to have a lot more microplastics in their brains. So that kind of freaked me out. Like I need to get like glass Tupperware instead of plastic.
Wooden cutting boards.
That's a good idea. And probably stop buying bottles of water and just have like some kind of steel reusable container and put water in there.
You can consume metals instead.
I want to have micrometals instead of microplastics. Will that be better? I don't know.
Yeah, you'll ingest like shards of glass.
You'll be full of aluminum.
Maybe I should only drink out of paper.
No, you should only go to the river and put your hands up to your mouth.
Only rainwater.
What about glass containers?
Glass. I feel like glass containers reheat more evenly anyway.
So going back to the Titan submersible, there's an article. I just wanted to say real quick because I didn't want to be making things up. There's an article that Titanic director James Cameron accused OceanGate of cutting corners.
He did so very publicly. There are national television interviews where he says that.
He said the sub didn't get certified because they knew they wouldn't pass.
You're going to get like a filter for your house then?
How much do I need to do to get rid of the microplastics or to decrease them?
I mean, if you get a filter with your water, you could just use glass for everything and metal.
Well, the water in Harlingen tastes horrible.
I have a filter. I have a little faucet there that's filtered water.
Yeah, you never drink from it.
Have you looked at it though? Is it just like the one filter? Is it the whole system?
I don't know. I thought it had a reverse osmosis thing down there.
Well, when's the last time you did any maintenance on it though?
Never.
Yeah, then you don't. At this point, you don't have anything.
Well, it tastes okay.
You're killing yourself.
Killing myself with what?
Yeah, with super salty pickles and
what? How are the pickles related?
And whatever's in the Harlingen water, we have a reliable source that works there.
The Harlingen water has always tasted weird.
Well, I've got to start thinking about how to decrease the microplastic load for my child and for myself, but I might just be screwed at this point.
Maybe it'll fix your ADHD though.
Or maybe I could just become demented.
Be demented with ADHD? Can't focus, can't remember.
Yeah, just really bad.
The best part about me being distressed about that was like, well, what have you learned about Nathan? I was like, you learned nothing.
I don't know if that's true.
I feel like Nathan's has been pretty open with you about his life.
I mean, how have I not been open?
You hid the ADHD thing for 20 years.
I didn't hide it from anyone. And I can't even talk right now because I'm still sick because of the illness y'all gave me.
It is not COVID or flu. It has been tested.
It is a virus that was passed to me from Justin originally and then to his wife and then to me.
ADHD? They passed it on?
No, this respiratory virus that I have right now that makes me have a lot of mucus and speak terribly, even more terribly than usual.
Nathan, did you get sick?
When? I haven't been sick in a little bit. I think the last time I was sick was when I potentially had the norovirus. When I missed that one pod. That was really bad.
And also my child is now sick. She woke up yesterday and said, I'm sick.
Actually, Rosie was feeling kind of sick recently, so I don't know. Maybe you gave it to her.
I've got a lot of nasal congestion, nasal mucus, and postnasal drip.
And horrible coughs. It sounds like you're dying every time.
Yeah, can you do one right now?
No.
No, well, I can do one. It was like...
Wait, when did this happen? Like after the hot tub?
In the days following, yes.
I have had some coughing fits. I had one on Friday while I was at work and talking to a family, and I had to leave the room. I'm like, all right, let me come back. Like, I can't control this cough. Let me drink something, and I'll come back when I can control this cough.
All those microplastics in your throat. I feel like that wraps it up for us today. Thanks for listening to the Casa de Cavazos. If you have any questions or comments, Reach out to us at casadecavasospod@gmail.com. We're getting some nice stuff from y'all. You're saying nice things to us, so we appreciate your listens. We appreciate your continued loyalty to listen to us.
I'm just laughing because I got an email that says you suck from Justin.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you were getting the emails.
That you have no website and no merch still.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, we should get some merch designs going.
Yeah, but before we leave, are you committing to the Las Vegas half marathon right now?
Who?
You or
What about
Justin?
When is it?
October 25th. 25th.
I feel like that depends because I don't want to do it too close to potentially doing that Chicago half, which I think is in September.
Wait, are you doing the Chicago half?
TBD. Haven't decided.
But you'd definitely be ready for another half. It's a win-win right there.
But what if I'm all injured? What if I can't train because it's cold and horrible?
I feel like I am going to sign up because now I've started this phase again. I'm back in the running phase. I don't know why. I think it always starts with another person, strangely. And then we end up being the ones who continue to run.
Hey, this half marathon has a training package as well that you can add when you check out.
I
It's
probably
like
won't do it.
another $200.
No.
What does that include?
I don't know, but it's training to get like a PR or something. I thought about getting it, but I was like, hey, I'm pretty sure I can do that myself because I haven't been running that well anyway. So you committed or not?
I guess so.
That's one.
I don't know why I do it, but I guess I'm back in the running phase, like I said.
TBD. We shall talk. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, rate us 5 stars on all the platforms, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, iHeart, wherever you listen to your podcasts. We'll be around, and we will see you later.
And hopefully I feel better next time.
And sign up for the half marathon so you can meet us in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really cool, actually, if we could do that as like a social thing with other people who listen to the pod.
Let's do it. Goodbye.